Normally in my house, in the mountain, well, in my parents' house. When there is no race, I try to be there. It's in the nature, and there I can just be there. I mean, it's really nice because it's in a mountain and there's not so many things around, just the valley and yeah, very nice and very healthy. I try to cycle in that area. There's a very good cycling areas. I still sometimes take my motocross bike because we have one motocross track inside that facilities, and normal life, nothing special. I still have in my house, in my flat, let's say, not in this house, in my flat in Barcelona, which is not a very big flat, but I still have the first bike I used when I started racing seriously, which was the JJ Cobas. And that bike, I remember, is the only bike we bought, my family bought, at that time, and I started racing in the European Championship. Then at the same year I did some races of the World Championship, and then the bike, because we bought it, it remained at home. But for 25 or 30 years, the bike was in the garage and it was destroyed. So 3-4 years ago, I decided to rebuild it. So yeah, I mean, we bring it to a friend of us, Javier, who is specialist for this, and he rebuilt it, and since then it's in my saloon, in my house. Because it was probably, I mean, it was my first real road racing bike. I mean, the year before I was racing in Spain, I was racing Yamaha, Suzuki's, many famous bikes at that time, but this was my first proper racing bike. So I remember one of those days, the bike was in this house, I tell you, in the mountain. I went to the garage down and said, fuck, this is destroyed, this is not correct, you should rebuild it. So then I rebuilt it, and now it's in my saloon. It's the only bike I have, I keep, I mean. I am an everyday bike user. I only drive bikes in the city, scooter. I have a Honda Scoopy, and I have to say that I have it for 17 years, and I never had a problem. But the bike is perfect. It's for when you are in a city, you need a scooter, you cannot drive a car. I don't have a lot of desires of things that are valuable, and probably if I have to spend my money in something, I will spend it in a bicycle, which are very expensive also, but I try to go for it. I think I still have the rider mentality. I think I have it still because of my way of thinking, and of course, remaining in this environment doesn't allow you to forget about it. So it has been every day since the day I stopped racing, every day, same environment, same thinking, lap time, racing, so it's very difficult to separate. If you have been a rider, if you are working in another area inside the paddock and you change job, maybe it's more easy for you to just start to forget. But in my situation, I came into this paddock 37 years ago. And before that, I was already racing in Spain, so it's impossible to not think about it. this is the world. This is our world, our life. It's about performance. It's about speed. It's about result. It's nothing. This is the only thing that really counts at the end of the day. Of course, there are more things, but for the rider, for the team, for the manufacturer, it all comes down to a result on Sunday. Well, it's a quite interesting story because at the beginning of the interview you asked me about where I stay on any Sunday that there is not a race, and I stay in the mountain, I told you. So in the mountain, the only house that is near mine is his mother's house, which is my mother's house, because they are sisters. So we are 200 meters from each other in the mountain. So for many years, I remember, I mean, we have some different age. I think I'm 4 or 5 years older than him, but I remember I was with my motorbike with my father, and he was always with the cars, with these control TC cars. He was super good. He was, I think, world champion or European champion, and also started with the go-karts. So we were going both to make our careers. Then he left to Japan. He was a long time racing in Japan, and we all both grew up in the racing environment. And every time we see, we talk about racing. He is talking to me about his story in the Formula One, and I'm talking to him about my story in the MotoGP. So, again, it's impossible to talk about something that is not racing. The only strategy at this point where we are now is to improve the bike. This is the starting point. And for that, they are trying to bring all the possible resources and technology they can, and they are available to get. So when I say resources, I am not only talking about financial resources, but also manpower resources. This is one of the reasons why we decided to bring Romano into the team. Before we decided to go ahead, we really studied the situation, the case. We valued different possibilities, and we thought he was the correct guy. How to approach in the next years? I mean, we need to improve the bike. There is not a, let's say, like a clear plan to, we will do this or this. I mean, we are doing all that we can day by day to bring the bike to a level. Because we know, of course, obviously our level now is not the correct one. Well, I think we have to clarify this. I mean, Honda is winning in Formula One, yes, but a car and a bike is not the same. Honda is supplying the engines for Formula One, and Red Bull has a fantastic team, and they are doing the car. In this case, we have to do the bike complete. It's a different concept, you know. It's a little bit different, but it's true that I mean, HRC nowadays is under the same umbrella, 4 and 2 wheels, and of course we are trying to utilize the resources that the 4-wheel department can provide or give us. But yeah, I mean, it's something that we are starting to see how we can connect all these together, and yeah, we are in this process now. Well, we are checking possibilities, and at this moment still we don't have them, but we are checking some possibilities in Europe, especially to speed up the process, you know, because sometimes it's complicated for Japan to implement all the ideas in a very short time. I mean, if you are based in Europe, maybe your possibility for reaction in terms of hardware or new parts will be clearly better. But also, from a technological point of view, there's also very good technology in Europe, and at this moment we are in the process of trying to find kind of location to be based here also. I mean, I think it's difficult to separate. It's not this or that. It's global. I mean, it's true that the technology in Europe in the past years has improved a lot, and they have worked really well, we have to say, in all areas of the bike. And at the end of the day, the bike it needs to be very, very precise. You only have 2 wheels, you don't have 4. So if something is not correct, with this type of technology, with all these new electronic systems, you will not be able to perform. So I think the Europeans made big steps, let's say, not in only one area, but let's say all around it. All the bike, they improved it a lot. But it's true that with the COVID, the Japanese manufacturer suffered probably more than the Europeans because they could not travel so much to Japan. So the gap there was big. Well, I can only tell you what I saw today, and I am super happy because the guy was very straight. He was very direct. He's a guy that has been around for a long time. He has experience, and what we ask him is for true opinion, and he has been so far since he tried the bike very, very clear on his comments, and I think he can only bring positive because he is coming from another brand. He had a lot of success in the past, so it's impossible that a guy like this brings something negative because he will only bring ideas. Well, it's very important because, as you are saying, he is fast. And he just went off the bike Sunday and he was fighting for the podium. So this is really, it's important because finally at the end of the day, when you are testing, at some point you need to have the speed to test the part. I mean, there's different types of testing. There's a function test rider, or let's say endurance test rider for parts, but finally you will need to find the potential, the speed, the performance. And for that you need a rider that is just ability or spirit to go to the limit, no? And Aleix has it because he just went out of the bike. So I think it can be very good for Honda, but also for the other riders in the team. This is super important. It's super important. I think it's good for the riders, but not only our riders, all riders. Also, you can check Pedro when he was racing KTM. He was many times faster than the factory rider. So this is a proof, and this, at the end of the day, for a rider itself, it's not comfortable. But finally, it's good because it makes you wake up. And I think it's good that when one of these test riders joins the GP, he must try to push not only for him, but also to push the level of the riders, no? Which is, at the end, this is racing. You have to accept it. Well, I mean, this could have some type of controversy because in some things it's good, in some things it's bad. I mean, we improved a lot, maybe in terms of safety for the bikes. I mean, many years ago, you had zero traction control, and I remember that time in the 90s, and we were all flying every weekend with the two-strokes. The traction control was in your hand, and it was super easy to go a little bit more and boom, boom. So, I mean, this, let's say in general terms, it improved, but it's true that it has developed so much that we have to be aware that this sport is super interesting, super thrilling, super challenging, and very exciting because of the sport itself, but we cannot come to the point where the bike is more important than the rider. This is my personal feeling. Sure, the championship will find a compromise to say, okay, this is the limit, and with this type of bike, with this type of technology, we can see true riders on top of the bikes. I think we came from a normal level of technology in the past to a massive one in the last 5-6 years. And yeah, I'm sure that the manufacturers and the organizer will find this point. But for me, it's super important that the riders, the real top riders, I mean, the fans around the world can really know who they are by their own development, by their own skill, by their own action in the race, you know. And this is something that, in my opinion, without being an expert, but this is not happening so much in Formula One. The guys will always find a way to make the bike faster, even though it's less cc, less. I mean, this is the technology to try to improve whatever happens. So, you know, it's difficult to answer now. But in my special case, I cannot even think in 27. I have to think if next year we will make the step. So this is too far for me now.